So on a good day, I like to get in here early and just review the previous day's work, really.
What counts as early then?
It could be as early as I can wake up. Sometimes on a good day, it's like 5:30 or something.
Really? So you could come in at 5:30 and wander in, I think.
Well, it's a time when you can catch yourself cold and you can you haven't got enough energy to kid yourself at that sort of time. So if something's not working,
you can really see it.
In your guts, you know it's not good. And if there's something about it which is okay, and if it stands up to scrutiny at that sort of time, in the kind of physiological condition that you're in at that time in the morning, you think, oh, okay, there's something there working, and
keep at it.
Yeah. And then so I can work on bits of the painting, and then I have to leave them almost. So there's usually sort of several things on the go.
What, because it's drying or something?
Yeah, it's drying, or you just don't know what to do with it next.
So you have a few on the go?
Yeah, usually. I'm not very good at planning things. All the work tends to follow a trajectory where you don't know what kind of colour it's going to end up or anything, and it's only by adding subsequent layers of paint and stuff to it that it gradually acquires a certain kind of density and a certain colour and a certain sort of feel to it, a weight, and you can't really set out to do those things. So the painting becomes what it is only over time and through reviewing things and looking at them again. When I'm working close up, I don't wear my glasses. I'm short-sighted, but somehow it seems to completely screw up your eyes if if you're too close to it. So it works better if I take the glasses off, and I'm just sort of then I'm locked into this macro distance from the painting while I'm working on a small part of it, and then you step back, and then the glasses back on, looking at the whole thing from a distance, and it's a different sort of experience. I suppose that mirrors what I hope might be the viewer's experience, that in an exhibition situation where there's some kind of experience of the whole painting from a long way away, the substance of the whole work, and then there's some other kind of experience when they walk up close and can see a small part of the painting. A bit like you do when you meet a person, you see them across the room, and then you come in, and it's a different sort of experience just watching somebody's face while you talk to them. You're attuned to a different sort of intimacy, I suppose. I like the idea of almost biting off more than you can chew, and it's only when it develops that sort of entanglement that the painting becomes worth worrying about, really.
So it's the point in the initial stages where it's just something that's got to be got through then, and you just almost got to go through the motions just at
Yeah. You have to just keep chugging along until it starts to fight back, resist what you want to do. All the painting for me is to some extent a sort of improvisation where you're not completely in control. You have some strategies, you have some things up your sleeve that you know have worked before, and you think, right, I'll try this on it. But the excitement is when you have to change those, or you have to allow them to grow, because it's not working again. I think each painting goes to that point where you think it's not working. It's okay, I've run out of ideas. What am I going to do next? I mean, the range of things I do to paintings, if I list them, are relatively few, and they've got fewer as time's gone on. There are images taken from different places, often from local places in the neighbourhood or from domestic situations, things being repaired or made in the studio, then there's the business of finding a context in which those things can operate, in which you can put them. So I've developed this sort of bubble space, bubblescape, which is really a way that allows me to modulate the paint surface, make small marks over the entire surface, and find a kind of space that's of sufficient density to hold all the other things in place. I work almost exclusively with small brushes, like sable brushes that are actually designed for watercolour, and that restricts me to making a repeated small mark over the entire surface of the painting, which means that the colour changes gradually across the surface.
And do you sort of feel you have a routine? Is there a kind of do you have days where you sort of know what you're coming in to do? It's like quite task orientated,
yeah.
Something to be.
Yes. Yeah, you know that the painter's going to ask you to do something that day. It's got to reach a new stage.
But days when you don't feel like you're making major decisions that.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of areas, a lot of times like that in the making of one of my paintings where I've committed myself to something that's going to take physically an amount of time to achieve.
And it's a job to be done.
Yeah, and that is also thinking time. I think that's quite important.
Because you're absorbed in the task, but your mind is allowed to wander off.
You can make painting doesn't have to be that. You can make it that every mark, every gesture involves some conceptual development, and I just don't put things together in that way. Things change gradually over time, and it's more like watching the kind of tide come in and go out again. I think play has an important kind of role as well. It's like if you're always sitting down trying to be serious to make good paintings and to do the proper thing, the whole thing becomes so sort of po-faced and plodding that it loses some sense of life. And it's only by doing something which is quite like playing, and somehow building that into the whole process, that the thing retains any creativity. I feel that's become a real problem for me at certain times, and I actually now do things in the studio that I think of as not to do with with your previous expectations of painting. You have to somehow make a space for that. So I make things, I construct models, I do things that don't feel very serious, and they eventually find their way into the paintings as well. I think things don't actually get made, for me they don't get made until they get messed up. So and then it kind of doesn't matter anymore.
So with a tube of paint, you prefer it when it was halfway through than at the start or the end, when it's like, it's kind of already messed up but it's not finished.
Yeah, you have to have a sense that you've wasted something, that something's been lost, and then you might be able to retrieve it, but if you're constantly worrying about every little thing being right, it's just not going to happen. Yeah, I mean, originally people used to ask me, well, could this not in fact be a photo montage? I could actually stick bits of photographs together. But from an early stage I knew that it was important that it was painting, that made it into an entirely different kind of animal really, where really the painting stood a chance of salvation, of outrunning your own ideas about things, which will only take you so far. that I was always banking on something more interesting happening in the painting than I'd planned at the beginning, because of what happens with the materials. It's that you have to have some kind of almost physical appetite for the work, and be engaged on that visceral level with it, or else you're just going to not remain interested in it enough.
Because you're committing your life to it in many ways.
Well, that makes it sound very sort of like some sort of noble calling or something. I think it is more to do with sort of a kind of bodily appetite for something and engagement on that level. Each painting starts off with a transcribed William Morris wallpaper design that I can project on, and it's usually some sort of floral design like you might have on a piece of old-fashioned wallpaper or something, but that in the final painting will be largely invisible, but it's still it's like a sort of trellis that you need, or a skeleton underneath to hold everything else in place. The trick is not to worry about how much there is to do, but you have to remain tuned into what's actually engaging you at that moment, or it just seems too enormous. You think you're never going to climb the hill. It's never going to get to that tipping point where it seems more of an interesting painting than an uninteresting one. It does fill up a lot of time. It's the objective, the end, is not exactly clear. Is it the gratification of having an exhibition? Probably. Is it other people's praise or adulation? Certainly not, because that's not guaranteed by any means. Is it that other people will think you're doing something worthwhile? That's not the case either. It can seem like a very selfish occupation at times that takes you away from your family and your friends, and other people don't really.
Daughter rather forlornly walks past at that moment.
See, my daughter's leaving home and she's only 9 years old. The engagement has to be on some other level. You have to feel that it sustains you at a sort of level that it wouldn't be. If you set out your career plan to other people, it wouldn't make any sense to them at all. They wouldn't see the point of it. I mean, the point, the moment at which you're sort of reconciled to actually sitting in the seat, working, and you've got a sort of tangible task in terms of rendering some piece of imagery or putting down a certain colour over the painting, it's almost like a relief. You've somehow arrived there, and I think I do like that. The moment after you've put aside all the faffing about whether it's going to be a good painting or not, or whether it's the right painting to be painting and you should be doing something else completely. You set all that aside and you think, okay, I'm here now, and it takes as long as it takes. I do find very kind of satisfying.